There are few things first-time homebuyers in this market should be asking at showings. So what are they? That's what we're going to talk about with today's Ask Michelle.
Ask Michelle, she's got the know-how, turning your someday into right now. Buying or selling, she's here to help to find your dream home. Ask Michelle.
Today we are hearing from Rachel.
Michelle, it's Rachel. My husband and I are first-time buyers, and we just started looking seriously in the Amherst and Clarence area. We love the neighborhoods, but I'm kind of nervous about the winters out here with all that lake effect snow. For a 3-bedroom house in our budget, what should we be looking for so snow removal and heating bills don't kill us? Any tips on what to ask about during showings?
Great questions. Rachel, are you guys from the area or are you moving to the area from somewhere else? Because that could be a really differentiating factor, because when you're looking in Amherst and Clarence, we're actually in the north towns of the Buffalo area, arguably much less impacted with lake effect snow. So when you look at the lake and you have the city of Buffalo, Amherst, Clarence, it comes across and it hits Buffalo and then everything south, Lancaster and south more arguably. Whereas we could get inches in Clarence and Amherst where they're getting feet in the south towns. So if you're looking in Amherst and Clarence, snow definitely is a factor, but not as much as if you're looking in the south towns. But regardless, answering your question fully, you want to make sure that, one, for heating bills and everything, that your home is with a high efficiency furnace. That's going to make things operate in a much smoother way and more efficient for your home to heat your home throughout all the months. When talking about snow removal outside, many people have a snowblower or they hire out services to have their driveway plowed. Either will totally work. I would just make sure that if you have a lot of cracks and stuff in your driveway, just be aware if you're doing it yourself, but it shouldn't be an issue for a snow plower to take care of your driveway. In our area, many of the older homes, and I say older, even in the 50s, 60s, 70s, are not as efficient with the insulation. So the blown-in insulation may have settled where it's not as efficient as it used to be. So walls can be much colder. So I have had clients and friends of mine where I directed to spray foam insulation, and they can remove pieces of siding outside the home and add that insulation. So it is quite a few $1,000s to do that, but if that's something that, long term, it's gonna have return for you guys when you go and sell the home, if you ever sell later on. When you go into the homes, you also wanna look in the basements, because a lot of the basements above the concrete where you have the sill plate, there will be spray foam insulation around that ridge there. So that creates a lot of insulation security for the home as well. Something that can happen in Buffalo is ice damming, and you'll see on some roofs a little black cable that's going around. That is a heat cable so that ice does not build up there and it melts it naturally, so that you don't have water buildup and ice damming. So ice damming is when water penetrates underneath the shingles and freezes, and then it creates a separation, and then it can get into the house. And a lot of times you'll be able to see if there's staining on the ceilings at all, or if they've had any issues in the past regarding that. I also will say, when snow melts, you want to make sure that outside, we always want water shedding away from the house. So we want to make sure that the grading outside the home, the house should be the highest point in going down away from the home. We also want to make sure that your sump pump is working effectively and efficiently. And in Clarence and Amherst, they do a time of sale inspection where it is checked before the home can be sold. So they're going to make sure that sump pump is working properly, unless in Amherst the home is newer than 1965. They don't require it. So that is a little hook in there. So if you're doing an inspection, make sure that that is also being checked, and it should be checked naturally by an inspector. Water penetration as well. If you see vertical cracks, or if it's a block foundation, step stair cracking in the basement, is there water penetrating from that? Has there been repairs done in the basement already? There is a lot to look at, and someone that doesn't know what they're looking for, it can be really hard to identify. But if you have a skilled professional with you, such as an inspector, a contractor, an agent, someone that knows a lot of houses and that can look at things for you in a very surface level, that's a good thing to see as well. The sellers do have to disclose things if they've had issues in the past. And a lot of times they'll say, hey, we did have ice damming in the dining room, but it was remediated and we put in the heating cables on the roof so it doesn't happen again. certain things of that nature. So if you're looking and you really want something more efficient, you are going to want to stick to newer homes because they do have better insulation. They are going to have probably newer mechanics and things where you're not going to have to worry as much about high efficiency. Older homes, the older windows. I see older homes that have original windows and they have to put the sealant, almost looks like cellophane on the windows to seal so the cold doesn't penetrate in the home. You know, that's something else that you want to consider. Does it have older windows, or are they, you know, new replacement windows that are double pane? There's so much to a home that makes it efficient that we want to make sure that we're looking at all of those aspects. Thank you for your question, Rachel. And as always, if you have a question of your own, go to call.show/askmichelle and I'd be happy to answer it. I'm Michelle Petrie, your Buffalo Realtor.